From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. Traditionally, the Labor Day weekend is the kickoff of the general election season for the presidential campaign every 4 years. But with the party's conventions being held a month early this year and the contest not having an incumbent, the already high level of activity and rhetoric continues to build. This week, it even took on a little south of the border flavor. To talk about where the race is as we pass this important political milestone, we have two surrogates with us. One is Scottie Hughes, a Donald Trump Republican surrogate, and Tennessee Democratic Party Chair Mary Mancini, who's a Hillary Clinton supporter. Ladies, thank you both for coming on the show.
Thank you.
So the road to the White House goes through Mexico. Let me start with both of you. What's the takeaway that you have now that Donald Trump has gone to Mexico, met with the Mexican president, and come back? Mary, was that helpful to him or did it hurt him?
Well, I think it gave him a quick boost. You know, I think it was helpful. It showed that he could meet with a world leader. Unfortunately, that didn't last very long because he came back and started a Twitter war, which is what he usually does. So, you know, again, I think what it showed is that you don't know what to expect with Donald Trump, and that's dangerous when you're looking at him as a presidential candidate. So you don't know which Donald Trump you're going to get. You need somebody with a better temperament than that. You also need somebody who's more measured, and that's not what we're getting.
Now, Scottie, he also came back and gave a speech the very night he returned from Mexico, and it had a very different tone and flavor to what he had said with the Mexican president in the public session there. In fact, the Wall Street Journal says he came back and wasn't going to mention the wall in his speech, but he found out the Mexican president had tweeted about it and said that Mexico was not going to pay for it. I guess that made him mad, and he said he had no choice. In fact, he was quoted in the Wall Street Journal this morning saying he had no choice but to put the wall back in the speech.
Well, I find it very interesting to think that Mr. Trump was not going to mention the wall in a very red meat room, which is what the Arizona crowd was. The wall has been one of the key principles of his campaign from the very beginning. There's four, and that was probably the number one, was that we were going to secure the border by building a wall. And I think that this just showed a difference in leadership styles between the two candidates this week, is what we saw. We had Donald Trump who says, I have a problem, how can I fix it without knowing all the pieces for myself? Instead of sitting up in maybe a penthouse or my office and just reading or seeing what's on television and deciding for what exact laws and stuff that I needed to do to fix it, like we've seen in the past, he said, I'm going to go down to the border. He went in July to Laredo, Texas, met with the border security there, met with businesses that involve trade, met with those that lived on the border, and now he met with the diplomats. He was putting the pieces together to create a complete policy.
But it was Donald Trump who created all this uncertainty about where he was on immigration. Everybody thought he was definitely for the wall. He was definitely for a force that would basically deport 11 million illegals here. That was all set in stone almost from the first day he got in, yet suddenly there was a hardening. There was going to be a softening, and there was going to be another hardening. He's the one that's created all this tension and confusion about it. Why did he do that?
Well, two different ways. First of all, it's just words we're talking about. We're talking about the word softening.
No, we're talking about policy. We're talking about a man who's going to be president of the United States.
The president, but Mr. Trump never changed his policy. He never said the difference in words. He never said that, you know, the idea of softening.
He said the word softening, then he said the word hardening.
That doesn't mean that he's actually going to change the policy. It means in the actual presentation of it. You know, I think one thing we can all agree about, Mr. Trump is not a politician. He has not necessarily had the most calmness and the best way of phrasing things since the very beginning. And you know, a lot of people find that to be something new and a reason why a lot of people are attracted to him. So maybe he didn't phrase it right, but the idea of softening he never said that he was going to change his policy. It was more just the presentation of the policy. The policy's never changed.
But Mary, words matter, especially when you're going to be president of the United States.
That's absolutely true. Words do matter, and I think Scottie, you know, gives too much latitude for politics when you're running in a presidential campaign like this, right? You mentioned political red meat. He came back, you know, he did one thing with the president of Mexico, and then he came back and threw red meat at, you know, his base. And when you're looking at a general election like this, you know, the candidates are on the stage. They are debuting. They are trying to put their best, you know, presidential foot forward. And what we're seeing from him is he continues to just want to be president to those folks that agree with him. He's not really making any overtures to being president of everyone in this country. And that, I think, is what the most disturbing thing about his candidacy is.
Interesting that she brings up everyone, because it's real easy to say you want blanket amnesty in the first 100 days, which is what Hillary Clinton said. She's not said specifically how she's going to pay for the $113 billion right now that illegals in this country are costing mainly middle-class taxpayers. We don't have any specifics on how she's going to change or reform that. And as history showed us in 1986 with Ronald Reagan, once this blanket amnesty plan at that point was just 5 million illegals that they gave it to. Now we're at 11 million. So that did not fix the problem. She's not actually gone into specific policies on how she's going to fix and how she's going to pay for all of these 11 million that we think are here. We don't necessarily know. Undocumented workers that are in the United States today. Some of them being criminals.
Can I just say something about immigration, please, and immigrants in general? This country was built on immigrants. One of our founding fathers was an immigrant. My grandparents, both of them both sets who came here from Italy, came here because they were welcomed by this country to do what's best for them and to make lives better for their families. Both sets of grandparents own their own small businesses. Both sets of grandparents raised their children to be Americans and to take, to be part of this great country. And so if you don't think that immigrants coming to this country now aren't the same as they were back in the 20th century or when this country started, then you are not paying attention, right? And to say blanketly that we are giving people, billions of dollars, which, by the way, that number is not true, but to say
yes,
that they're
actually it is.
But let me finish, because I let you finish, that they're not giving back to this country, so that they're not giving all that they have, that the vast majority of them are giving their blood, sweat, and tears. They've fought in wars for this country, from the Revolutionary War to the Iraq War. That is what immigration means in this country. And I don't think you or Donald Trump understands that.
Well, actually, it's in your...
Now, let me ask you a question.
Well, can I get a chance to respond to that? Because she personally attacked. Here's the thing. It's in your grandmother and your grandfather's honor that we're doing this, because they came here legally, just like my grandparents came here legally. There was a process that went through.
You don't know that.
Of them... Well,
you don't know that. You don't know that about my grandparents.
Majority of them went through Ellis Island. The majority of them went through.
Maybe.
That's not what we have right now. There's not an Ellis Island on the southern border. And when you look at people that are in this country, we have a different phase today that we're living in than maybe our previous generations did. They want to hurt us. They want to kill us. The sons, the Boston bomber was the son of an immigrant. You've got the San Bernardino.
That's not the
vast majority.
What I'm saying is that we need to know who is in this country and that they actually want to be a part of this community. We're all, if you come here legally, wonderful. We welcome you with open arms. There's no difference. We're talking about the people that are coming across our border illegally or overstaying their visas. We cannot afford to keep them here anymore.
All right, I need to take a break.
Sure.
So we'll come back to the conversation, continuing obviously about the presidential race coming up. Scottie Hughes, a Republican surrogate for Donald Trump, and Mary Mancini, the Tennessee Democratic Party chair, a surrogate for Hillary Clinton. Back to continue our conversation after this break.